Hello everyone, today in this video we will fight against the atmospheric of our world around us, and this time we will talk about recent events on the Bali island. We know that the Bali island is an island in the Indonesian archipelagos and one of them of many thousands, and it's famous for its touristic attractions as a touristic destination. But the leaders of 20 most powerful countries just met there and made some plans for our future. We know from life some of them will be implemented, some of them will never be implemented, some of them will be partially implemented, and to a large extent everything depends on our behavior. And one of the plans they made were the plans how to prevent in quotation us from so-called future pandemic. It's not pandemic, it's plandemic like it was previously, last 2 years this madness. They still don't know what the future famous microbe, another one, is gonna be, but they want to prevent us from it already. Of course, the same measures as they did previously. So we see how things are going, because as I said, the fact that 20 countries took part in this meeting and their leaders plan something like this, as we see from the experience of the last 2 years, it doesn't mean that all of them will introduce the same measures, or it doesn't mean that all of them will introduce any measures. If something like this, I hope not, but it depends on us, happens again. But they just want to have a whip for their populations. Like we now see in China that Comrade Xi, especially in the largest cities, still continues this zero COVID madness policy, and now we see that the real purpose, as many people were saying, was control of population, of course, and also influence of their health, reduction of some finances among some people, so wealth transfer, and reduction of some groups that cost too much with time, with together with the degradation of their health, upon some so-called remedies that are offered or imposed on some people. Now, what can we do? Of course, we have to observe what our leaders are doing, and we have to be aware that the fact that they meet together and they make some assumptions or plans for the future doesn't mean that they don't compete. What the recent events in the Middle East and in the Central Eastern Europe show us clearly that they still compete, because we have two main layers of the people who are ruling the world: managers of the corporations, big ones, because the owners, as I'm always mentioning, are for last decades separated from the company. They don't care how it operates, but they want to have profits, so they hire managers for some years and they do everything to increase the profits of the companies at any cost. They also bribe majority of democratic politicians who by definitions are poor, so together they want to make business on the cost of the populations of the countries in which they act, of course. And it doesn't prevent politicians and other sharks of business from competing between each other. That's why we have these two layers, global, like this so-called economic, I would say pseudo-economic forum, these corporations, and the second one, local leaders of the states that compete with each other. That's why we have these two layers, and that's why the main picture of our general picture and main picture of our geopolitics and economical situation around the world, for the layman who is not aware of all of these things, seems to be very sophisticated. It's not, if we present it like this. What can we do and what should we do as people? As people, we should be aware. That's why I'm recording this movie, like Dr. Campbell recorded before, pointing it out. One can see on the webpage of the summit in Bali all of these documents. Let's spread it around the other people. Let's make them aware. And what's just to protest first in the internet, if something very loudly, because then our rulers see that there is a social resistance, like they wanted to check us this year with so-called monkeypox. They saw that things after famous Chinese microbe are too fresh and it will not bring the effect they wanna achieve. So they just cancel monkeypox suddenly when they realized that it wouldn't work. So we see that we are all the time tested. We should be aware of this because people protested and were not happy. So if we preserve this memory of the last 2 years of this madhouse, of these lockdowns, all of the things with this pseudo remedies and so on, which were gene therapy and so on, then we will be able to prevent ourselves for the future. Because I think that our leaders who are emancipated from us completely, especially for the last decades, our leaders just made these documents and set of regulations during summit in Bali just to be ready in 10, maybe 15 years to start again if needed to make another wealth transfer and kick us again when our memory will be weakened and we will not, they think, remember very well what happened 2020 and till the beginning 2022. We will, because we should learn from history to prevent it from happening again. And as president, one of the greatest US president, Ronald Reagan, said that every generation should fight for its own freedom. That freedom doesn't last longer than one generation if one doesn't fight for it. So we have to keep it in mind and always be ready when we spot something, because we all the time should observe our leaders from these two levels, corporations and governments, and organizations like the Pseudoeconomic Forum, and react on it first verbally everywhere with everything what we have, and if needed also on the street, even peaceful demonstrations. And when they see a resistance, when they see lack of reaction as they expected from the majority of population, we see, like in the case of monkeypox this year, everything got cancelled and they are waiting, they are hoping for better times for another madness. But I think if we keep the memories and keep our experience alive, it will not happen, but we should do it. That's why good that Dr. Campbell started pointing it out. I'm trying to be a resonance box of it. Many people try as well. We should be more and more numerous with time. Take care and have a nice day. All the best. Bye. We will make it.